Hello, everyone. You're watching God, Sex, and Love. It's your girl, Miracle Sense. And tonight I'm chatting with Miss Jennifer Brianne. She is an author, a podcast host, and she has a lot of awesome things going on. So if you're ready to hear this conversation, then stay tuned.
That I'm not the type of girl that goes around. I'm so strong with that. I'm good, but I bet you wishing I would have a one night.
Welcome back to God, Sex, and Love. I am here with the lovely Miss Jennifer Brianne. Hey, girl. How you doing?
Hey, how are you?
I am great. I'm good. Thank you so much for coming to God, Sex, and Love.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, I'm excited to have you. Look, I feel like we literally just talked, right? Because
Literally.
because I was featured on your program not too long ago, right? And so I definitely had to extend an invitation for you to come here. So please share a little bit about you, where you're from, and about your program and everything else you want to share.
I sure will. I don't want to say thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here in this space. This is not a topic that needs to go undiscussed. And so this platform and everything you're doing for the kingdom is amazingly needed. And I'm happy to be a part of what you're doing. So again, my name is Jennifer Brianne. I am a podcast host, an author, and a speaker. I bring you greetings from hometown of Jonesboro, Arkansas. But now I'm actually in Alabama. I've been in Alabama for about 10 years now. I came here, college athlete, and I played basketball at the University of North Alabama and also at the University of South Alabama. And I currently live in the middle of Alabama. So I feel like I've been all around Alabama. And it's interesting that my time here is quickly winding up. As I said, I am all of those things, but I'm also my most prized and lovely thing that I love most about my life. The role that I get to call myself is a wife and a mother. I'm a proud wife to Sergeant Isaiah Curtis. He is a Marine and Semper Fi. And I also have two lovely blessings that I get to call children. Their names are Hezekiah and Annalise. They are little and they are fierce, but they are also in school and daycare right now. So no surprise visits from them in this moment.
That's awesome. Oh, I love all of that. So first of all, we have some things in common here because my husband is also a Marine. So
Yeah, okay.
Marine Corps, and everything like that. So that's amazing, man. You just never know how much you have in common with people and whatnot. And you kind of around the corner because I'm in Georgia, you in Alabama. So I mean, not far away. So are you guys gonna be? You said you're getting ready to leave from Alabama.
Yes. So the reason why we're in Birmingham is because what happened with COVID-19. My husband had an emergency mobilization to South Carolina. He was over there for 10 months while I was in Mobile. And then after that, it was time for new orders and transition and all that wonderful thing. And so he got stationed here in Birmingham on recruiting duty. And so the reason why I think that we're getting ready to dip is because it's time for something different. He doesn't too much care for recruiting. And so, I mean, he loves the outcome, but not the input. Long hours, little reward. And so he's ready to get back to the fleet. For those of you who don't know, the MOS, that term is basically what they do in the military, their job. And his original MOS is an infantryman. He's the guy that you think of when you watch American Sniper. He's the guy that's kicking down the doors with a sniper and doing all of the crazy cool stuff that you get to do. And so he's ready to get back to that. This is more of a role that's paper pushing kind of thing. So we might be in California, might be in Carolina, not really sure. But, trusting in the Lord and waiting.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, I'm sure you all to be exactly where you're supposed to be, and I mean, so how do you like that, the traveling and whatnot? Are you cool with that, or kind of like where you at?
I think I'm yes and no. I am yes because I've traveled my whole life, being a basketball player, and going all those AAU summers, like basketball in Little Rock, in Tennessee, in Georgia, in Florida. I mean, getting on the road, airplanes, car ride. So I'm used to extensive travel, but I think that it's a little different when I have children. I think that uprooting them makes me a little bit more nervous about school systems and the social development. But actually, the research says that they are more developed and more well-rounded because they're exposed to different cultures. They get a lot more diversity earlier on in life, whereas people like us get that diversity later because we don't move until later. So I actually have been able to just really rest in the Lord and be like, okay, if we're moving every 3 to 5 years, fine. But I think professionally is where I have my conflict, because I can go out into whatever city we're in, get a job, and I stay there for however long, and it's time to go. So professionally, I've said, okay, I really will have to pour into my entrepreneurial endeavors because they're going to be there no matter where we are.
Yes, exactly. Look, I'm all for entrepreneurship. I'm definitely team entrepreneur, and I get it. Everybody might not be into it, but it has definitely been a blessing for me. So I hope that continues to bless you as you embark on that. You know what I mean? I know that you've already kind of started because I know that you have your show, right? And then you also have books and everything like that. So come on, tell us all about it.
I'll tell you all the good stuff. Okay, so this is where it is, guys. Years ago, when I was getting my master's, I'm currently getting my doctorate. Thank God I'm almost finished. I started blogging, and that blog became a YouTube, and that YouTube became a podcast, essentially. When I started my doctorate, YouTube became too much, and podcasting was an easier way to still allow my voice and presence to be heard. So to this day, I'm into season 5 of the Wise Women podcast. So from the Wise Women podcast, we now have the Wise Women group. What we do in the Wise Women group is these are all of my free resources. So Wise Women group, you get in. I do a Sunday chat and pray where we talk about our weeks and we bring our prayer requests and we pray together every Sunday on a live. And then I do a live pop-up sometime in whatever, we can do a short devotional. It's amazing. It's awesome. I do free teachings on some of the topics of our different books as well as the podcast. And also in the group, the women have prayer partners because we like to focus that group on prayer. Wise women, if they don't do anything else, they are going to pray. Okay. That's the first step, I believe, in wisdom. So we have prayer partners who you meet with once a week and you guys get together and pray. So that's something else that I've orchestrated concerning that. Let me talk a little bit more about my book. So my books have come from my struggles, from my pains, from my experiences, and from what the Lord has been teaching me. The first 2 books that I released were called Letters to My Molester and Letters to Inmate number 127039. So these are 2 very different books, 2 very different topics that were released at the exact same time. Why? Because as I was writing a prisoner who was my aunt at the time, I was also unleashing the prisoner that was on the inside of me. And so that is why those 2 books had to be released at the same time. Now, a lot of people won't just read those titles and see how they work together. But that's how life works, right? Because God allows all things to work together for the good of those that love God and are called according to his purpose. And so those were my first 2 debuts in 2018. Since then, I've released 5 other books, and I've also allowed 4 or 5 other authors to come alongside their journey and help them through the publishing process to become authors as well. One of my most prideful possessions of becoming a book coach and helping people in their writing establishment is my late sister. She passed in December. And one of the things that I was able to add to her obituary was the fact that she was an author. We made her book come alive right before she departed to be with Jesus. So that is kind of one of the motivators to really move the gift of writing and the skill of writing for a lot of people. I found that, writing is my passion, it's my gift. So almost everything I hear could be a book. But in talking about my books, my latest book is The Power of the Secret Place, How to Cultivate an Intimate Prayer Life. And we have been working through this book. When I say we, the Wise Women group, the people that follow me, we've been working through this book and dissecting the wisdom and downloads, the revelation, and really growing in our prayer life. We did a 30-day fasting challenge, a 10-day prayer challenge. And so that's another thing that I do in the Wise Women group. We do different challenges and things like that. And so on top of all of those things, if you want more, if you want deeper, if you need if you need that accountability and that connection, if you want that intimacy that comes with community, I have the Wise Women Mentorship Community. This is where women get together and we meet one to one, and we also meet as a group, and we go through life together. We are getting to the goal to looking more like Christ and being more refined in the things that we are called and created to do. And sometimes you need support, sometimes you need help. You need somebody that believes in you, that is with you, that is focused on what you're focused on, and is helping you to reach those milestones. So that is something that I just recently released. So if you go to my website, www.jenniferbrianne.com, that is the first page you'll see, because that is the newest baby that I'm growing. A lot of people have been like, can you mentor me? And I'm like, okay, how can I create the capacity to do this? And that is the way that I created it. So that is some of the entrepreneurial things that I have going on right now.
I mean, listen, she went from saying like, well, I think I might need to entrepreneur, and then named all these entrepreneur endeavors. But that's amazing. All of them sound amazing. Honestly, that sounds like what you need. Just go ahead and be walking in, because guess what? You can do that anywhere, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
And I'll be praying for you for that and everything like that, because I could definitely see all of those things just expanding and growing and blessing and whatnot. One of the things that I was, I guess, triggered to ask you is like, what brought you on to these things? Like, what made you make the Wise Women group and all these different things?
So let me give that disclaimer to start to answer your question. A lot of people say like, how do you do all of this? And the answer that I always say is I didn't do it all at once, even though I can name it all at once. We're talking about a 5-year history almost. And I think the way that technology is set up right now, it makes you believe that you can do it all at once. And I think you need to keep in mind that you can do it all, but you don't want to do it all at once. You don't want to try to, the book that you have is a cultivation. You want to cultivate things. And so one thing kind of rolls into another. And like I said, seasons of my life have changed and have channeled me to do what works best for that season. So, you said what brought those things on? Well, the gift is me. And the expression is the exchange that the end user or the product consumer can use for that season based on how I'm expressing myself as in a gift. So that's what brings it on. So in my master's, what brought on the blog was that I was having to write and read so much, and it was making me actually hate writing, because I was writing about topics that they assigned I wasn't as interested in. I was interested in because it had to do with communication, but I wasn't as interested in it, as I could have been. And so it made me abhor the thing that I actually love the most. So I used the gift to recultivate the gratitude and the generosity and the compassion and the power and the grace that God had given me to use it for the world in a way that helped me. So it was kind of like, if people would say, getting high off your own supply. So that's where the blog came from, So then again, the season shifted. I was able to be in YouTube. And so now I'm using not only my writing gift, but also my ability to speak and articulate and communicate to the world. So I'm articulating the kingdom in that expression. Well, that expression shifted when my life shifted, because the demands of my responsibility changed. So that's when I went to podcasting. Well, I realized that I also not only need to be able to produce content on a pretty consistent basis, but I also need to be able to have content available that I don't have to keep re-explaining and keep reteaching. So now the expression of the gift came in book form. Because whether I'm there or not, you're getting what's already on the inside of me and depositing it to where you are in your life. So that's what books do for us. And so again, as seasons have shifted, right now I'm in the season of being married. I have young children. I'm about to start, my first corporate position. And so you're about to see a shift again, which brought about Wise Women Group and the Wise Women Mentorship Community, because I had to focus my energy, effort, and time so that I can maximize my life, so I can reach the mass in a very pointed and specific way. And I'm not wasting my time, responding to emails or DMs or text messages or comments or likes in ways that I would have had time in prior seasons. So you really have to be in step with what God has for you and using your gifts in the way that He would want you to. And it'll keep you relevant. It'll keep you moving. It'll keep you in faith. Because if I would still be doing now what I was doing 5 years ago, I would not have seen all of the other things that He wanted to bring about.
Amen. Amen. Listen, man. Look, Who's dropping the gems now? It is like I'm with you on all of that. I can relate to so much of that because at the end of the day, it is isn't it just a blessing to truly just be walking by faith and just allow God to just do what He want to do. Like on one hand, we struggle with it, right? Because we don't want to do that, right? We want to do what we want to do, but I find that it's just been such a blessing to just do that and just see what He does. Like, and sometimes we moving and we like, well, I don't know where we going, what we doing, and then next thing you know, when you're in the midst of it, you're like, man, you got okay, you did your thing. I'm gonna keep trusting you. That's where I feel like I am in my life right now. I'm just like, I say it all the time, which I'm like, I think maybe I'm being a little bit convicted by it, but I have been saying a lot lately that I'm content. Like I'm cool. Like if God just want me to do this, I'm cool with it, And so I think I keep getting that nudge, like, hey, you still got other stuff to do.
Yeah, you do. You do.
You still got stuff to do.
Being content, but then also carrying it out. So yeah, I get it. I absolutely get it.
But that is, like I said, that's beautiful, man. I'm glad that again you're walking by faith. You're letting God, use you. You seem like you have a lot of things growing and cultivated. And, I'm with all that and everything like that. You did share briefly just a moment ago, and I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about it, but about your sister. Well, one, I'm sorry to hear that. That your sister passed and everything like that. I don't know if you have other siblings. Or she was the only sister?
So that was my oldest sister. So my parents both had a daughter when they well actually let me finish. Go ahead and finish what you were going to say. Or you just wanted me to talk more about that?
Well, I guess my thing is it's just for me it's just another confirmation that like when you're walking and where you're supposed to be, right? And then you were able to bless her and let her, leave this legacy behind. See, I should just let you talk. Now I'm getting get emotional about it, but it's just you just never know. Like when you walking and you're doing what you're supposed to do, and then you were able to bless her, and you know what I mean, and it just keeps flowing like that. It really do, and you just see God moving and whatnot. And so, but yeah, I would love to hear more about her and your family.
So I get emotional too because I'm like, man, what if I wouldn't have been in a position to help her bring that dream alive? What if, and this is the question that I haven't verbalized really to anybody else, but what if that dream would have had to die with her? How many dreams are on the inside of us that will have to go to the grave simply because either A, we didn't have the time, or B, we didn't have the resources to bring them out of us? And to have been in a position, I'm talking slow for a reason, to have been able to help my sister with that. Mm-hmm. And to see it, flashed in her funeral, to see author as a title in her obituary. Everybody doesn't want to be an author, that's fine, but she told me that that's what she wanted in the midst of her sickness. So my sister died of cancer. She went to the doctor and she was having pain. End up having, I think it's called a hysterectomy, but they actually found cancer and it just kind of traveled to different parts of her body. It was very aggressive, but because it was so aggressive, they gave her 6 weeks to live and she fought for a year and a half. I mean, she went down swinging and I could not be more proud of her. I could not be more proud of her journey. And I'm so honored to have been able to walk alongside her through prayer and fasting and support and just even the preparation that went into transitioning from this life to her next life. So being able to come alongside her and journey with her so that she could see one of her dreams realized before she transitioned just meant the world to me. And I don't take that lightly when other people come to me with their works, and saying, hey, I'm not really sure how to do this, or I need your help writing this for me. So one of the things that I'm focusing on right now that the Lord just blessed me with was the ability to be a ghostwriter. I haven't even shared that, but I've taken on 3 or 4 ghostwriting projects where I've been able to write books for other people, and that's been amazing. I mean, you're talking about manuals and journals and books. People give you an idea or they say, hey, can you research this topic and word it for me? I love it. I love that the Lord has everything about me. He's centered around this gift of writing. I mean, right now, I mentioned earlier that I'm working on my doctorate. And that is the highest level of writing and producing that you can in the academic space. So to be able to do that, and to know that all of those nights of working hard, right? All of those nights of pouring into my gift, all of those nights of being frustrated, not understanding, like, why do I have to do this? Or like you said, being unctioned and that push to do more put me in a position for the Lord to directly bless my sister, not knowing that time was of the essence. So it puts a fire under my behind because I'm like, I knew that she was sick. We were believing that she would be delivered on this side, but we did that not even really thinking the time was of the essence. So as I sat at her funeral and I'm looking at this book cover we worked on, I'm looking at her eulogy, parts of her book being read, and I'm remembering the conversations we had. I'm remembering all those things. I'm just floored at the impact that you can make when you are doing what God called you to do. Now, you said you want to hear more about my family, so let me go back to that. She was my older sister. When my parents met, they both had a daughter apiece. And so my sister and my sister technically aren't sisters. But after they got married, I have an older brother, it's myself, and a younger brother. So there's 5 siblings. She was the oldest. There was about a 15-year gap between us. So she passed when she was 43. She left a daughter and 2 sons, 23, 18, and 13. The children, well, the 13-year-old really, because the 18-year-old, he's on his way to the army, and the 20-year-old, she's about to graduate from nursing school. So it's just been an all around testimony to God's grace and sufficient power to keep us. But the 13-year-old is living in Jonesboro with my parents. And so he's, taken well care of. And in her final days, she actually ended up moving in with my dad so that he and his wife could, take better care of her and the family together. So it was just a beautiful transition of God's faithfulness to, first of all, have the resources to do that. Like a lot of people's family can't even sustain, their normal day-to-day finances. So then to not experience financial strain when you take on really an entire family is a blessing. So we counted all joy. We cried hard and we had to, question God of like, okay, God, was this her will? And how did this work out? But we know that she's resting in your arms. We know that she believed in you. And so that is our hope and our resolution. So I might shed a tear or two when I think about it, but then I also smile right behind it because I know that God is faithful, and I know that she's with Him. That her eternal fate is sealed in glory, and that cancer didn't win on this side because the Scripture says that death, where is your sting? You thought you won, and really she's doing better than any of us right now. So that's my family dynamic as far as my siblings go.
Wow. Well, to God be glory for that testimony. I'm glad that you're able to smile and still have joy and can hold on to those beautiful memories and everything like that. Do you mind sharing a little bit about her book with us?
Sure. So the name of the book is called A to Z to Positivity. She always used to love and champion positivity. So what she did was she came to me. She desired to be an author, a coach, and a motivational speaker. She was at a point in her life right before cancer kind of took its turn, before she actually knew she had cancer, where she was studying to be a school administrator. She had been a counselor. She had been every single role in the school you could think about. A counselor, a PE teacher, a teacher. She loved education. She actually got her master's and her EDS. So she was right there to getting her doctorate as well. Of course, again, journey got cut short, but she said, I really want to pivot. I have all these years in the public school system. I have all these years working with inner city kids. And, I'm right here before I can there's a test, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not in the field, but there's a test that you have to take in order to be like a school administrator or like a principal. And the test, I don't remember how much it was, but she was saying, I'm deciding if I'm going to pay to take this test or if I'm going to use these resources to shift my career and go another way. So she had started taking classes and courses and building her knowledge. I mean, when you say lifelong learner, it's definitely her. And so I told her, I said, listen, sis, like at that time I didn't have the mentorship community. I knew a little bit about coaching and how people were breaking into the industry. And so I shared with her my insights that I know concerning that. I said, but I know for a fact, if you want to be an author, I can help you with that. She told me that some lady was willing to charge her, I think, a couple $1,000s that quite frankly, she didn't have. You know, she's battling cancer. She's got chemo treatment. She still has kids in her home. She didn't have the money to do it. And I was like, sis, why did you come to me? I was like, I'm your sister. Of course I'll help you. And from that moment, we got to producing A to C of positivity. So at the back it says Positivity Rock. So what it is a positivity journal. And so she went in her notes and her journal, and she wrote out how she was remaining positive through her battle with cancer. So every day was a reason to stay positive. So for instance, you know, and I'm just paraphrasing, so I'm not giving the book away, but it just says, you know, today is an amazing day, or, you know, how about you be the X factor? What's one way you can be the X factor in your situation, or remain zealous about what God is doing? What's one way? And so it causes you to reflect and think, and it has journal space where you can write it out. And so I just remember her submitting it to me. I remember her telling me to help her, and her favorite color is orange. And so she wanted the cover to be orange, you know, just all these different little details around bringing her vision to life. And again, that was the one project that, you know, I wasn't compensated for, like, money wise, but my heart is just so filled. My soul, like, that shifted something for me to hear her say, you know, you have a gift, don't sit on it. And for her to go on to glory, and those these kind of her parting words to me as we're working on this project just propels me to, you know, pursue that with such passion and such motivation.
Mm, mm.
I know
Why
it's
y'all
heavy.
be doing this to me, man? Y'all GSL, I'm telling y'all, man.
I know it's heavy, and I thank you for letting me even share it. Like I said, it's just been a lot. I mean, she passed in December, and it's not that far away. As a matter of fact, I don't know. It sometimes it feels weirdly God divine. Why would you say that, Jennifer? Well, her funeral was on my birthday. You know, it just felt that way. Like, I've never, first of all, who wants to go to a funeral on their birthday? Okay. You're celebrating your life and another lived year of life, but then you gotta go to a funeral. It's just kind of this conflicting thing. But she passed December 4th. And the earliest that we were able to have the funeral was my birthday, December 8th. And so it was just one of those things where it's like, okay, God, like, I'm having such a perplexed emotion right now where I can't even articulate, you know, how I'm even here and in my right mind and in this moment. I mean, I can't think of anybody who's ever been to a funeral on their birthday, as you're celebrating and honoring somebody's death date. But again, that's one of those God divine things. Like, he knew before the beginning of time that the funeral would be on that day. He knew before the beginning of time in his infinite wisdom that we would have those moments, and that I would get to reverberate her words in my head as I watched them close the casket and roll her away. And so it was, man, I think to date, that is probably one of the most impactful experiences of my life. Truly, truly, truly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, there's so much to say, but then it's like nothing to really say. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, one, thank you again for sharing her and her journey. May it live on. I feel like, okay, so this is probably the second time I know y'all got me boohooing on GSL. But it's all good, man. It's got me glory because, again, like, for me, it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful that, um, although these things happen, right, and Lord knows, like, because we had a celebration of life for one of my uncles in our family over the weekend, and it's just, again, I know it's like a message that I'm always saying here on GSL: get in your purpose, people. You know what I'm saying? Do what God will is for you in your life, because again, you don't know who it's going to touch, what you're holding up, what you holding back from. You know what I mean? Like, and again, I know I share with you, that when I look at my son, he's like living proof of choices being life changing, right? Just all those different things where it's just like, man, like, See, I don't know. Now, maybe if you weren't in your purpose, right, and y'all didn't produce the book, and maybe if you didn't have books and so you didn't know how to do the books or whatever the case was, you know, but I mean, I feel like what she's left is something that, again, this A to Z, the positivity. Like, I mean, I'm sure that's gonna touch and bless many people, and so
Yeah, and one thing that I didn't even realize, because God has just been downloading so much about the transaction. She was able to confirm and reaffirm what the Lord had already been working in me. But not to mention, He taught me about the wealth of legacy. Because not only did are her words reverberating through generations to come, but her children get to reap the benefits of the royalties that she gets from her book. There were so many people at her funeral, and beyond that, they were like, I didn't know she was an author. I want a copy, because she never got to officially do a release of the book. So if I count the timeline right, okay, she passed in December. We had the book. We were writing the book around the summer. I think we got it finished and published around mid-fall. So it was there around August, but that is when her health and things really began to decline. So it was actually it served as a ministry tool for her and for me, because it was a bright spot in the midst of her chemo, in the midst of her uncertainty, in the midst of doctors going back and forth saying, okay, we need to do this, or we need to do a trial this, all of the insurance sites. Like, I remember all the details, but still in the midst of all that, being a mother, to have accomplished something when you lived your whole life as an achiever in the midst of your life's hardest battle, it was such a bright spot. And I remember her saying, oh, I love my book. Oh, I want to change this, or let's do this. And so then I remember, she was phenomenal. I mean, she even was able to do a speaking engagement. We had the book ready by the time that she did the speaking engagement. And I, to this day, wish that I could track down the lady who recorded it, because I wasn't there. Guys, I'm in Alabama. She was in Arkansas, so I wasn't there. But I wish that, I could do that. But you're so right. I mean, I've learned so much from this situation, because, it didn't have the ending that we wanted, but it fulfilled God's purpose. And I know that because God knew her birth date and her death date. It was not a surprise to him. But as it relates to the books and the records of heaven, us coming together to write that book for her was a part of his divine plan. And I was able to be a part of it. And so I just know that purpose is so powerful. And I know that, a lot of what I do probably doesn't make sense to a lot of people. Like, how are you a doctor or an instructional designer who has a communication background in school as a wife and a mother with all of these things? Didn't even mention the prison ministry that came from Letters to Inmate. Yeah, like, didn't even mention that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they're like, how do you do these things, or why? A lot of people, what they're really saying is why. And I'm like, you don't understand that the kingdom of God is at hand. It's at hand. It's at hand. It's what you do here and now. God is not going to need your gifts in heaven. God is not going to need your ministry in heaven. The people who are on their way out of this earth, they need you now. They need it now. And I think that's what my sister taught me, that, like, time is of the essence, and it may or may not be on your side, but you can't risk taking that chance. You can't, like, we could have told her, like, I could have told my sister, like, oh, sis, oh my gosh, you got so much going on right now. How about you just focus on feeling better? Not knowing that a part of her feeling better was the antidote to do the work to produce the book. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that we really, really have to take a look at ourselves and really pay attention to, like, what are we giving our time to? After my sister passed,
ready to find something to throw. I was ready to run. Like, all of this. I'm like, yes, all of that.
after my sister passed, I learned that I sat there and I said, my sister taught me that we in America do not need more time. We think we do. We don't need more time. We need more of what matters most. And I've taken that lesson with me, and it helps me because, again, all that we do for God is what's going to last. Everything else is not going to matter. It's what we do for God. So to other people, what I do looks like a lot because they're doing stuff and spending their time with stuff that is just that. It's stuff. It's not going to last.
Mm-hmm.
The effort that I took, like, I don't even remember what I was doing around that time that I was helping her with her book. But the time that I took was worth it because that's something that I did for God. I obeyed God and I got to see the fruit of what it means. Like, I literally was able to give my nieces and nephews an avenue for generational wealth. They can take that book and run with it. They can make money off of it. They can remember their mother's wisdom. They can remember her words and her legacy. So it's deeper than just a soul thing. You know what I'm saying? The Bible says that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. That book can be positioned to go down through generations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's a small thing. I think she wanted to charge about $15, 15 to $20 for it. But I've talked to her daughter, my niece. We've talked about the book. We've talked about the direction to go with it. I've told her, like, okay, now that I'm not educating her, my sister directly, now I'm on to the next generation. I'm saying, okay, well, this is how you need to position it. This is what you need to do. We need to set up this particular system so that we can do this. Like, it's already moving the finances to the next generation. See, we got to remember that God is about and cares about the generations. That's why children are gifts, because God cares about godly children. He cares about the generations. And through this experience, He's taught me our position and our place into a bigger scope. Like, our purpose is a part of the puzzle. It's a piece that uniquely and designed it. I'm just talking. I'm ready to start preaching. I feel like I need to.
Let God use you. Let God use you. Oh, good.
But when you touch on that topic, I just have so much to pour as it relates to that because it's so near and dear to my heart.
It's real though. It's real. Like, I mean, again, to God be good for everything you're saying. Again, I'm right there with you. I feel like I'm saying some of this stuff very recently too. So I'm just like, yes, yes, go
Yes,
ahead, yes. Um, so she was able to hold her book.
she was.
Praise
Turned
God.
right in it.
Yes, good, good. I know, and you said that she was able to even do one of the speaking engagement. To God be the glory. You know what I mean? So you just,
She
you know,
actually engaged herself, and I told her, I was like, "Oh, we gotta move so we can have your book ready. That way, after get us speaking, people can buy it." I think she ended up having a chemo treatment that took her power. She was really, really, really weak, and so we just pumped the brakes. And I said, "How about you save your strength for your speaking engagement?" And so I said, just as a speaking, note, just make sure you reference that you have a book and that people can buy it. So.
well, that's wonderful. Thank you again for sharing her testimony as well on her behalf. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, yeah. Go ahead and shout out her book. Where can we get her book from?
So you can get it on Amazon. Again, it's A to Z to Positivity, and I'll share the link with you so that you can share it with everyone else. I don't know. It's not on my website. It's not in my shop because I was waiting for my niece to take over the rights so that then I could then upload it. So if you go on my website looking for it, you won't find it. You need to go on Amazon right now.
Okay, no problem. That's awesome. Like I said, thank you for sharing that. Do you want to tell us about your prison ministry and everything like that?
I can. So one of the books that I named called Letters to Inmate number 127039 is near and dear to my heart. It's one of my babies as well. So what happened was I spent time in college writing my ended up doing time in a maximum security prison in Florida for trafficking like 100 pounds of marijuana, or that's what she was framed for. Okay. So she ended up, so let me tell you the end before the beginning. She is out now. She's doing amazing. But that book is a compilation of the letters that her and I wrote during I say our time because I feel like I did time with her, but during the time that she served. And so that book shares life, hope, salvation, and prayers. And I compiled those letters. And during our time, I was like, man, this is amazing. I love, sharing scripture with her and encouragement and support because she went through a very dark time while she was in. Of course, she wasn't with her children. And my grandmother, her mother, actually passed while she was in, and they did not let her come to the funeral. So she didn't get to funeralize her own mother. So there were a lot of reasons why she needed prayer support, why she needed to, rethink her life and rethink salvation and be given hope and prayers. Okay. So from that book, I said, you know what? I'm going to get this book into the hands of as many prisoners as possible. So to date, we've gotten to over 100 copies to prisoners. And from her getting out, I said, I miss writing prisoners. And I know that's crazy to say, but you spend time writing, you begin missing it. You just forgot I have it. And so I reached out to this prison chaplain, and he was like, well, actually, I don't do that anymore, but there's two prisoners that I keep in contact with. I'll share their information. He did. And that two became 30. And so that is where the ministry came from, because I had way more people than what I could write. So I started recruiting writers, saying, "Hey, do you have a passion for writing prisoners? Okay, well, look, I got these names. So you can write him, you can write her, you can write." And so I'm starting to delegate the task. And so now I have a ministry called Pens to Prison, where we write life, hope, salvation, and prayers in the form of written letters. So we correspond with prisoners regularly. And so they choose their level of correspondence, and they want to write a lot, they want to write a little. And so what we try to do is try to get them a monthly Bible study every month. And then we also get them a prayer sent to them every month. That way, if the person that they're writing is kind of slacking, maybe they forgot, didn't send an email, didn't make it to the post office, they get some correspondence from the ministry on a monthly basis. And so that has grown exponentially. We are in 5 different states. We've sent over 1,000 letters to prisons. Pens to Prison was started in 2019. And so we've just experienced God do some phenomenally amazing things. And we've tried connecting to other ministries so that we can kind of keep up with them after they've gotten out. But that's a little bit more difficult. So I just tend to focus on the writing aspect, because that's, again, my vein of ministering to God, ministering for God in a way that sheds light in a dark place.
Like, I can relate to in a lot of ways in regards to like having a lot of endeavors and things like that. But I think all of your endeavors are so beautiful. I feel like, not to say you're too busy for your whatever, but because obviously God works it out, right? Because I get that, right? But again, all of your ministries sound beautiful. Everything that you share with us today is amazing. I'm sure there's much glory even in store for you. I mean, I'm pretty sure it is. Is there anything else you would like to share with us before you go?
Just let's get connected. I would love to know more about. I've spent this time talking about me. Okay, but I want to know more about you. I want to know more about you, the listener, what you're doing, what you have going on. If there's anything that I have going on that you want to get involved in, if it piqued your interest, if you want to know more about my books, if you want to write a book, like, let's get connected. So go on my website or message me on any social platforms. I'd love to hear about your journey and where you are and where you're going. So if we don't connect, just know that I love you and that I'm praying for you. And I know that God can do exceeding abundantly above all that you could ever ask, think, or imagine, because I'm sitting before you as a living witness to what all He has done for me.
Man, amen. Look, before I start asking more questions, girl, I guess I'll let you go. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Miracle Sam's, let's go.
Thank you so much for watching God, Sex, and Love. And thank you to Miss Jennifer Brianne for joining us tonight. I hope that you all enjoyed this conversation. Please check out her podcast, her books, and if you can and will, check out her sister's book as well. Have a good night.
I'm so done